Greetings, greetings, greetings. It's Martha Creek, Martha Creek here, marthacreek.com. And I'm very humbled by the message today already as I think about how many decades I have spent being mean in the name of spirituality, innocently, by the way. I had no intentions to harm or any desire for malice or anything like that. And I'm more awake now than ever to how I do this and the knee jerk tendency to do this, and how my patterning in this was because I didn't have the inner resource and the inner presence in me active at that time to bear the kind of human suffering that we see. So tread into this lightly, this ground that we're on today, and encourage you to listen with as much of an open heart as possible. Um, so take a moment and think about the last time you was in sadness, had something you were afraid of, you were scared, something devastating happened, a loss or something like that, and how you were actually feeling at the time and what you needed at that time. Some understanding, some presence, somebody to bear witness to that pain, somebody to support you, somebody to remember for you what is true. Grace, compassion. And some of us high righteous spiritual types, and I am absolutely prone to this. I don't call myself guilty anymore because I'm aware of my own innocence in this. And I'm absolutely guilty in that I used it believing that it would actually be effective, that I wanted to be empathetic and didn't know how to be. So, a spiritual people in our life, in a misguided attempt to help, to make people feel better, to actually bring comfort in some way, say some very not kind things. And more accurately and more likely, the thing saying these things is to make ourselves feel less helpless, less overwhelmed in our own feelings and in the face of painful losses and emotions and suffering of others. So I know over the years, when I've had situations like this, I've had people to tell me, what in your consciousness caused this? So when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, the people close to me, even mentors and teachers, said that something in my consciousness had caused me to have this. Now, I couldn't relate to this at the time. I had not ever thought about breast cancer. I didn't have anybody in my family with it. I had not had any pregnancies or any hormones or anything like that. That's often the cause. So I remember hearing something in my consciousness caused this, which made me feel worse than I already felt because I believed I caused it. And then I awakened one day to, if I had the power to cause that breast cancer, then I had the power to uncause it. And I remember thinking, like in my talks that I'd presented, like if I go out to get in my car and the tire is flat on my car, I don't think I caused that flat tire. What in your consciousness caused the tire to be flat? It's like, well, I hadn't thought about the tire. Most of us don't even know we have tires till they go flat. But I did not cause a flat tire. Tires go flat according to physics, according to the laws of the universe. And think about the miracle of that. It's a miracle they're all not flat. Air in rubber on metal spinning at high speeds and velocities in roads with potholes, sub-zero degree temperatures, over 100-degree temperatures at rapid speeds over years, and seldom ever go flat. So that's another sermon for another day. For now, my thinking I caused the flat tire, that I have the power to cause a flat tire, or that if I cleaned up my thinking, I wouldn't have a flat tire. And I'm shocked today, even as I reflect on this, at the ridiculousness of this and the magical thinking of imagining that I have the power to determine if my tires are going to be flat and when, or if somebody else is going to have a flat tire or when. I'm even more shocked by the utter lack of empathy that I've extended to others and to myself when I was legitimately frightened and, in fact, in some cases, likely in some danger. So, this makes me realize that some people can handle feeling emotions that arise in the face of human suffering, of tragedies, things that are out of control, and that some people absolutely cannot handle bearing these emotions or witnessing the burdening of these emotions in other people. And maybe it makes people feel better and offers some kind of strange solace, a feeling of having more control or an illusion of having more control for them to say these platitudes and things like that, to believe that our thoughts create our reality, that our thoughts create our experience of reality. And that's a big, big difference. So I don't have the power to create a flat tire. I do have the power to create how am I going to relate to this flat tire? How am I going to relate to a diagnosis of breast cancer? So if your spirituality is making you mean like it made me mean for a while, I've got to rethink this and my knee jerk responses and the way I use these affirmations and platitudes. So think about this, how unempathetic these actually sound. So I want you to hear these, imagining and remembering a time when you were in pain, when you had a loss, that you were suffering in some way, that you were afraid, that you were in doubt, even bewildered, in a void, an abyss of some sort. And see if some of these emotion shaming spiritual messages came to you and how they felt on you, how they fell on you, as some of us high righteous spiritual types like I have been and am just a thought away from today may have offered up to you. Things like, your soul chose this. Everything happens for a reason. God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. God won't give you more than you can bear. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Don't cry. Don't be sad. Count your blessings. It is what it is. Buck up, buttercup. Suck it up. Grow up. Wear your big girl panties. Man up. Don't worry. Be happy. There's a lesson to be learned in this. Look for the gift in every situation. Look for the gift in this situation. Oh, that's just your ego talking. You're too sensitive. Don't let that bother you. Focus on the positive. Take a chill pill. This too shall pass. Stop complaining. Count your blessings. Be thankful. Blessed are the peacemakers. It didn't happen to you, it happened for you. Get out of your victim story. Who would you be without your story? That's just a story. What you see in me is just a mirror of yourself. Look for the silver lining. Have you tried medication? What's it like even to hear these today? Did they feel empathetic, helpful, supportive, even wise or understanding? And what's it like when you have an actual need for empathy, for support, and things like this are offered back at you? Doesn't feel good. We're already feeling bad, and now we've got this heaped on top of it. So we've just exponentially grew the pain that somebody's already in. Exponentially grows the pain that we're in of hitting somebody over the head with a spiritual platitude instead of a heartfelt, open hearted listening, true empathy. Brene Brown, a researcher, has written on this and provided research around this. And I encourage you to look up a YouTube video where the studies on empathy, Brene Brown on empathy. And my primary takeaway has been, again, as I reviewed it and reflected on it myself, that no empathetic response begins with at least. And that's how I had abused myself for years. At least that didn't happen to me. At least the breast cancer was in its earliest stages. At least I wasn't molested. At least, at least, at least. I've witnessed people over the years afraid that was run out of their homes over and over by wildfires, tornadoes, hurricanes, and tsunami, that was actually afraid, that was in a triggered response of survival, that was in danger. And I've witnessed people saying to them, you shouldn't be afraid. Replace fear with love. And I've seen them say, well, at least my home wasn't completely destroyed. At least, at least, at least. Non-empathetic responses. So I'm deeply immersed in treating the traumas within me. I've been immersed in this for over a year and a half with deep work around parts work in IFS, internal family systems therapy, and the work of self compassion, which I've spoken about now for several weeks. A program starts in next month, in October, of an 8-month immersive process in this. And if you want information about that, it can be found by enrolling at marthacreek.com in the newsletter or contacting me directly, marthacreek@gmail.com, for information about it. If you're ready to get help and support in treating your own inner traumas so that you can improve your ability to tolerate intense feelings and to regulate yourself while in intense feelings, to stay in our own bodies and compost our feelings, to allow feelings to have a life, to allow them to rise and pass, to do the opposite of depressing, suppressing, and disowning, denying those feelings. And our ability to do this to tolerate intense feelings in ourselves and others, to compost our feelings, to process through them, to train our nervous system to have more flexibility so that we can actually be with our feelings and intense feelings, and to be with our to be with others when they are in intense feelings. And if we can get some help and support in treating our own traumas, we can absolutely have more emotional range, a broader spectrum of potential and presence in ourselves, and tolerate and accept that our own pain is part of our human learning processes, and so is the pain in others a part of their human learning processes. It's also vital for me to realize that it's always a part of me that is suffering, not all of me that is suffering. And speaking in those terms, a part of me is sad, a part of me was afraid, a part of me was feeling grief, helps me not to fall off into the pit of that, but to understand that it is a part of me. And there's another part of me that's also online, my spiritual higher self of me, that can witness that part and stay more in the lead position of that the pain and the suffering and the traumatized, wounded part of me is included and will not take over and take the lead position as I speak of a part of me is this. So, how could you offer self compassion for yourself? So, think about if you were with a close loved one, somebody that was actually suffering, that had had a significant loss, that was in pain. What would you say to them? What words would you actually speak? I'm here for you. You're safe with me. What tone would you use? What body posture would you offer? An outreached hand, an extension of grace. When we have someone close to us, someone we care about, even a stranger, we were generally more compassionate with them than we are ourselves. Somebody that's had a loss, a failure, feeling afraid, inadequate. Now think about when you're in pain and suffering. You feel like you failed in some way, that you're inadequate. What do you normally say to yourself? What tone do you normally use? And if you're in a practice now of self compassion, of extending empathy for ourselves and treating ourselves at least as well as we would treat a suffering friend, what would you say? This hurts. A part of me is struggling right now. A part of me finds this very hard to be with. And then words of comfort to remind ourselves that suffering is a part of life. I'm not alone in this. Others struggle with things like this. Others can relate to how I may be feeling about this. All humans experience some pain in our lives. It's a part of being human. This is part of our shared human experience. And then words I use to give myself what may be needed in the moment. I give myself compassion now. What would a compassionate response to this look like? I accept myself in this suffering. Suffering is included. I'm safe in Creator. I'm safe in all of my humanness, in the truth of my divinity. So the next time we're in struggle or suffering, there will be a next time. Stay more mindful of how you respond to yourself. I'm going to too. And when we talk about suffering, big or small, justified or unjustified, rational or irrational, self inflicted or something that simply happened, let's choose to be kinder to ourselves during those moments and commit to responding to ourselves as we would someone dear to us. I bless you. I love you. Contact me, marthacreek.com, if I can support you in any way. Blessings.